Today's video is all about practical ways that you can declutter fast, specifically if things are changing in your life and you're headed for a fresh start. A while back, I got a comment from a viewer asking for tips of ways to prepare for a life-changing season, specifically how to deal with decluttering during those moments. And so I thought I would take some time today to really encourage those of you who may be facing some changes, maybe some difficult things in life, and really don't want clutter to get in the way. Now, the interesting thing is that many times these life-changing moments, whether they are something that you brought upon yourself and you're excited for, or they were thrown at you and they're not so exciting, they all have a way of having us reflect on life. The birth of a first child, downsizing from a larger home to a smaller apartment or even assisted living, changing jobs, or maybe some health challenges. Any of these changes will have us needing to make some decluttering decisions quickly. But unfortunately, that usually also means that our thoughts are at times preoccupied with all of the other things that go into the preparations, meaning we won't have the capacity to put a lot of mental effort into decluttering. And so the first tip that I want to talk to you about today is really just acknowledging that fact that in the grand scheme of life and everything that goes on, our stuff, our belongings is really just not that important. It's funny how major life events have a way of doing that and helping us recognize that it's the people that matter and not the possessions. It's also going to be really important to get into the correct mindset before doing the work, and that's going to be acknowledging that this process might not be overly fun or enjoyable all the time, but it's something that needs to happen. I like to recommend to people who will be doing a major decluttering to first take some photos of the spaces before any items get removed. Even just removing one or two large pieces from a room can make it look and seem completely different. And I know for myself, my parents, my aunts and uncles have been going through my grandparents' house. My grandma lived there till she was 99, and so there were a lot of things in that home that have been in the same position for many years. And seeing those things out of the space, it just doesn't feel the same. And so it's been a comfort to be able to look back at those photos and the videos and have those memories without the stuff even being there. And so I just think that this is a good way to kind of mentally prepare again for the process ahead and realize that you can still keep those memories without keeping all of the stuff. Next, I think it is so important to go into this process with accountability and help. I've said it 100 times, but decluttering can induce decision fatigue on anyone. This can be especially true if you're in a delicate mental state because of an upcoming or sudden life change. If you have a deadline that you're trying to meet, the best thing you can do is have an extra set of hands and someone to bounce ideas off of. Have that person or group of people with you as you make some decisions about what you will need for this new season of life, and then write a sort of roadmap or guide of what you want to accomplish as an end goal. If, for example, you'll be moving into a smaller apartment with fewer bedrooms, consider the size and amount of bedding needed. It would be silly to pack up 5 sets of queen bed sheets when the new space will only have one full-size bed, for example. This tip is especially important if you want to declutter quickly, because what will tend to happen when we're going through all of our things is that it's going to stir up a lot of memories and emotions, and suddenly everything seems special. We want to keep everything around. So this is a great way to have some checks and balances. Of course, you'll have the final ultimate say about what stays and what goes, but having someone there in your corner will really help things to move along more smoothly and efficiently and ensure that any decisions that you make are in line with your goals. All right, so those first 2 tips are all about setting yourself up for a successful decluttering experience. Now it's time to get some actual work done. It isn't as if we can just wake up one morning and say, hey, I'm ready for a fresh start. Let's just get rid of everything that I have here and I'll buy new things and everything else can go. That is just not a reality. That's not going to happen, because For many of us, we have had these things for years and years, and we've built a history with them. Some of them will be sentimental, and others are just useful items that it doesn't make practical sense to declutter if we can still use them in our next season of life. And so this third tip is all about the weeding process. Now, I'm going to tell you that the best way I've discovered to go about this step quickly is not by the methodical peeling of the onion approach, where you take a pass through your belongings and declutter your least favorite things or the things you use less often, and then go back around and do it again until you're left with just your favorites. That process is useful and it can work very well, but it is also quite slow. Instead, the fast way to declutter is by identifying the best of the best first, kind of more like a treasure hunt. In my video about leaving a legacy, which I will have linked in the description box, I referenced the fact that if something is truly special and worth passing down for generations, it's not likely that you've forgotten about it. It will come straight to your mind. This might seem a little backwards or opposite of everything you've ever learned about decluttering, but I assure you that it really does work and it speeds up this whole process because most people are easily able to identify their favorites without all of the digging around and going through everything. The fourth tip is to make every effort to only handle things once. If your life change involves a move, box up those for sure yeses, the things that you are positive you want to keep or to go with you, and set them aside. And with those things preserved and out of the way, you can then focus your attention on everything else. Remember the roadmap or guide that you set out for yourself and think about what gaps you have yet to fill. If, for example, you are wanting to whittle your sweater collection down to 6 and you have identified your 4 absolute favorites already, that means you can search for 2 more that might fit in this category. But always keeping in mind that it's okay to stick with just the 4 if you're comfortable with that. Have bins or boxes ready for the things that you want to donate or sell, and also make sure you have available a good stash of garbage bags for any trash you may come across. While doing this work, like I said, you'll move along a lot quicker if you don't spend a lot of time evaluating each and every piece that you come across. Remind yourself that you've already identified your favorites, and so everything else should be a more simple yes or no answer. The more tricky part may actually be deciding if something would be better donated or sold. And the determining factor on this might be the amount of time that you have available before your life-changing season begins. If you really need to rush things, donating is going to be your best option. You can find lists of various donation sites in your area pretty easily, and it might even surprise you to learn about some of them that are close by. For example, I had no idea until I started decluttering that the animal shelters in my area appreciate donations of bedding and towels. I've also heard from many people in the comment section that hotel or travel-sized toiletries are gladly accepted at homeless shelters. You may find while going through your belongings that you wish to donate to a specific individual. I just want to throw in a quick note to remind you not to save something because you think that they might like it or use it. It's very important to ask those questions upfront to the people you're thinking of and accept their yes or no response without emotions tied to it. I know that that's usually easier said than done, especially if an item is very dear to you. And so if boxing up all of these excess items and shipping them off to a donation center really gives you high anxiety, you may consider instead having a garage or an estate sale if you have the time. It might make you happy or give you a sense of peace seeing the person who has chosen an item from your sale and seeing them walk out knowing that that item is then going to continue being useful going forward. And the process of a garage or estate sale can actually save some time in the decluttering experience as well by really moving a lot of items during one event rather than selling or donating in small batches. My final tip is that no matter the reason for your fast decluttering, it can be really helpful and therapeutic to reflect on the gratitude that you have for these belongings that have been with you for all of this time. It might even make it easier to see them go. And this is where your thoughts can go full circle back to the beginning roadmap and plan that you had set up for yourself, to acknowledge the changes that are happening in a more positive way and not just as something sad. Truthfully, if you're able to be involved in the decluttering process before a major life event or change happens, that is a true blessing. And if you can acknowledge that, that will make the entire process so much easier. Just think of how light you're going to feel going into this next season of life and how much more peace you will have not having to manage all of the excess. And so whether your change in life is something that's really exciting and you're looking forward to, or something that was thrown in your direction that you sort of dread, having to deal with excess clutter is just going to be an extra weight on your shoulders. So using these tips is going to be very beneficial for you. If you're facing a brand new season and you could use some encouragement, I'd love to chat with you down in the comment section. Leave me a note and I'll be sure to reply. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.